Okay, so far about the fundamentals. Now about the course, it's going to be starting real slow and then go faster and faster and faster and faster and faster until you're at professional level. But we're going to start at the level where I assume that you do not know anything about programming. This is going to be very slow because these fundamentals are universal, and then if you go to professional, it actually depends which kind of professional you are. If you want to be an AI researcher, you're going to be here, and the path's going to be slightly different. So at some point I'm going to be indicating like, okay, this is how you do it, and you have to do the work, you have to do the legwork, you have to do some homework. In between, I'm going to get some examples going so that you can see the principles of things, you can play with it a bit, get an idea. And take your time, because it's a lot of new ideas. If you're new to programming, it's about 15, 16 new ideas, and people usually can process only one new idea a day, and then they need to practice a little bit with it. And if you get two new ideas that build on each other, you need an extra day to make the connection. So if you have like 15 ideas that all build on each other, it's got to take some time. So pace yourself. Don't feel I set you up to fail, because I did, but it's not failure. It is debugging. It is seeing where your model doesn't fit into what computers expect, and then fixing that so that you can talk to computers and they can understand you and do what you want. Because computers are exceptionally good at being very bad at understanding us. With AI, this is changing, so this might be news to you even, but this is my main attraction to computers. They're stupid. You have to break down things really into small steps to get it into a computer and get something out that you can use again. Because we think at a very high level, and computers think all the way down at the base. Okay. So we're going to have to challenge assumptions that we have that we don't know that we have. And a good way to illustrate this in computational thinking class, we did a little experiment where I said, okay, I picked a student, I said, you are a robot. And I gave him a loaf of bread and a jar of peanut butter and a knife. And they are the computer programmers, and they're going to program the robot to make a peanut butter sandwich. And this was always fun, because you had a little talk with the robot, of course. As soon as you can misunderstand something, misunderstand it. So and be creative, be wild. And they went wild. But for instance, somebody says, well, grab a sandwich, but it was in a plastic bag, and it went through the plastic bag, ripped out a sandwich. Okay, the sandwich was all crumpled, and okay. Use two fingers, take out a sandwich, don't rip the bag, but place it down gently. You have to do all these sub-instructions. And even then, use two fingers, gently. Before once you get the peanut butter out and start, it's going to be a mess. Put down some garbage bags if you want to do this, because if you have a creative robot, then it's going to be all over the place. But it really illustrates that something very, very, very simple can become incredibly difficult once you break it down to its fundamentals. We are very good at, for instance, we catch a ball, no problem. But if you look at what's going on here, the calculations that we're doing and the chaos control that we're doing, compensating for wind, compensating for the lack of vision that we have, because our eyes are getting worse mine are getting worse as we speak. I need glasses normally. So we're compensating for many, 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 many things. Computers do not compensate for a thing, they just do what you ask. So this is the first lesson, that you really need to challenge your assumptions. Now this is hard because we don't know that we have assumptions. That's what they're assumptions for. But I'm going to give you another example of an assumption that we all have, which is about counting. Very handy with computers to be able to count. We count like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, because we have 10 fingers, right? This has been told to me at school. This is how I learned calculus. This is how I think about calculus, about counting. It seems logical. Now, let me tell you, in India, in Turkey, in I think Morocco, some other countries, there's a lot of people that have not a 10 number system, but a 60 number system, like the Egyptians had. And, well, the first thing that you might think is, how on earth are you going to count to 60 on your fingers? Because this is basically, if you ask a child how old are you, he's going to say, I'm 4, 3, whatever. Because this becomes synonym in our mind with the number. It is not. It's a representation. So I'll show you how you count on your fingers. It's going to be hard to do it like this, but okay. You use one hand to count the segments of your fingers. You have 3 on each finger, so that's 12. And then you have 5 times that so you count like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to do it like this. And then once you get to 12, you put one finger up. So this is 13. This gesture is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There's no ambiguous gesture here. Once I get to 24, yeah, this is going to be 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. And we can keep on going, and then we have 5 times 12 numbers, 60 numbers. So you can count on your fingers very easily up to 60. You could even do more than that, but I'm not going to go into this. This also is a representation. It's not like this is the true way of counting. I'm just saying there's more ways of counting. Now a computer has only 2 numbers, not 60, not 10, because it turns out you can count in 3 numbers, you can count in 4 numbers, you can 5 numbers, 6 numbers, 8 numbers. Just any number of numbers you can count in. But it changes the way we represent things. It doesn't change counting, it doesn't change calculus, it doesn't change a thing, it just the representation changes. But I can, for instance, people, when I talk about this, they think, well, but 1 and 1 is still 2. But if you count like a computer, then 1 and 1 is 10. So, because a computer has 2 numbers, 0 and 1, on and off, 2 states, and it counts like this: 1, 2, because it ran out of numbers already, so we have 0, 1. That's all the numbers we have, so we switch to the next one: 2, and then 3, and then 4, excuse the 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is another way of, so I can count on one hand up to 16. So from 0 to 16, so up to 15. 16 numbers, 0 to 15 is 16 numbers. So I can do 16 numbers with one hand using my 5 digits. I could use, of course, I could combine those systems. We could go to, I don't know, 265 numbers, I think, 128, something like that on one hand, 120, something like that. Should be easy. Homework. But it might just show you that the way you think about counting, which seems very basic, is not the only way that you can think about counting. So you don't have a fundamental there, you have a way of representing things. This is one of the major types of assumptions that we can do. Now if you go into algorithms, basically telling computers what to do in a little recipe, you get some other assumptions that we do. I'll give you an example. There's the elevator algorithm. I always use this because it's very insightful to people. If I press the button, then the elevator comes to me. How simple can it be? Now people assume that if you do that and you reach the floor that you are, the elevator's going to stay there if nothing else happens. So if the elevator goes down or up, they assume somebody else pressed the button, he's going to get it. That's the simplest algorithm that you could do. It's not the elevator algorithm. Why? Because you want the elevator to arrive as fast as possible. So once the elevator has nothing to do, it returns to halfway the building. So it can reach top floors and bottom floors in the same in the least amount of time because it doesn't know where the next press is coming from. That's one. You think, oh, that's slightly more intelligent. True. And it is a slightly better elevator experience. You just have to wait shorter. Now, I press the button, I get into the elevator, I press the button, I want to go to 4, I'm on 1. Now there's somebody on 2, and he presses the button. If the algorithm locks in this elevator is going to 4, the moment I press 4, then the person on 2 has to wait a long time. So if I pass a floor on which the button has been depressed, it stops, loads in the person, but not if the person wants to go down or up. It's actually important. So some elevators have this going up, going down button, which people completely ignore, but it's very important to the algorithm. If you don't have that, then there's an estimate. You're like on the top floors, you're bound to want to go up because there's just more floors to go up than to go down. Unless there's a lobby and we can log that and do stuff. So we're going to do some assumptions and regulate the elevator. So there's way more that you could do because I can press a button, as soon as somebody's out or there. I can press multiple buttons after the fact. There's so much mayhem that you can cause with just an elevator algorithm once you start thinking about it. But the first assumption that people do is, well, it's a very simple algorithm. It's not. It's one of the hardest algorithms to solve well. It's maybe a bit much, but it's not as easy as it seems. And this is, together with the robot example, the basic lesson that I see in computational thinking. It's not as easy as it seems. It's also not as hard as it seems, because once you break things down to what you want, what you expect, what's actually happening, what you observed, then you can just, these are very small Lego bricks and you can put it back together. So programming is mostly having a lot of patience, trying out things, and being wrong all the time. So I think, this is the best algorithm, and then I think again, I'm like, okay, this could be improved, and my improvement creates other problems, so I need to fix those, I need to fix those, I need to fix it, etc. So this is how I write programs. I don't sit down and I just visualize the whole thing and then I write. I don't do I just get straight in, make all the mistakes that you can make, and then fix them in a hopefully intelligent way, and you'll get better at that. At first you'll try to fix things in ways that make things worse, and you kind of have to get the feel of when something is a more generic solution. Again, we're going to get into that when we get into debugging. So this was your first lesson, which is challenge assumptions, and sounds pretty simple, but I'm going to be saying that a lot during the whole course. Okay, that was your first lesson. Wasn't that bad? I hope.